6930. When a control tower, located on an airport within Class D airspace, ceases operation for the day, what happens to the airspace designation? A. The airspace designation normally will not change. B. The airspace remains Class D airspace as long as a weather observer or automated weather system is available. C. The airspace reverts to Class E or a combination of Class E and G airspace during the hours the tower is not in operation. The correct answer is C. During the times when the control tower is not operational, the airspace classification shifts to Class E airspace or a combination of Class E and G airspace. Class E airspace typically extends from the surface up to a specified altitude, and Class G airspace refers to uncontrolled airspace. It's important for pilots to be aware of the changes in airspace designation when the control tower is not in operation. This means that the communication and control services provided by the control tower are not available during those times. Pilots should consult aeronautical charts, NOTAMs, notices to airmen, and other official sources to obtain accurate and up-to-date information on the specific hours of operation and airspace classification for the airport in question. Adhering to the appropriate airspace rules and maintaining situational awareness helps ensure safe and efficient operations within the changing airspace environment. 6931. The vertical limit of Class D airspace will normally be at A. The base of the Class E airspace. B. Up to and including 2,500 feet AGL. C. Up to, but not including 3,000 feet AGL. The correct answer is B. Class D airspace is designated around airports with an operational control tower. It extends from the surface up to a specified altitude, which in this case is up to and including 2,500 feet AGL. This means that aircraft operating within Class D airspace must remain at or below this altitude unless otherwise authorized by air traffic control. Understanding the vertical limit of Class D airspace is important for pilots to ensure compliance with airspace regulations and maintain safe operations. Pilots should consult aeronautical charts and other official sources to obtain accurate and up-to-date information on the specific dimensions and requirements of Class D airspace for a particular airport. By adhering to the established vertical limits, pilots contribute to the overall safety and efficiency of air traffic within the controlled airspace system. 6435. A turbine-powered or large airplane is required to enter an airport traffic pattern at an altitude of at least A. 1,000 feet AGL, B. 1,500 feet AGL, C. 2,000 feet AGL. The correct answer is B. Turbine-powered or large airplanes have higher approach speeds and require additional time and distance to maneuver within the traffic pattern. To ensure safe separation and traffic flow, these aircraft are generally instructed to enter the traffic pattern at a higher altitude compared to smaller, slower aircraft. Specifies that the minimum altitude for entry into the traffic pattern for turbine-powered or large airplanes is 1,500 feet AGL. This altitude provides ample separation from other traffic and allows for a smoother transition into the traffic pattern. Pilots of turbine-powered or large airplanes should be aware of the specific altitude requirements for entering the traffic pattern at the respective airport they are operating in. It is important to adhere to these requirements to ensure safe operations and maintain appropriate separation from other aircraft in the vicinity. By following the prescribed altitude for entry into the traffic pattern, pilots contribute to the overall safety and efficiency of the airport environment. 6446. The minimum visibility for VFR flight in Class E airspace increases from 3 to 5 sm beginning at an altitude of A. 10,000 feet MSL, B. 14,500 feet MSL, C. 1,200 feet AGL, and at or above 10,000 feet MSL. The correct answer is A. Class E airspace refers to controlled airspace that extends upward from either the surface or a designated altitude. It is important to note that Class E airspace can exist at various altitudes, and the visibility requirements can differ based on altitude. In this particular scenario, the minimum visibility requirement changes to 5 sm when flying at or above an altitude of 10,000 feet, mean sea level, MSL. This means that once a pilot reaches or exceeds the altitude of 10,000 feet MSL, they must maintain a minimum visibility distance of 5 sm in order to continue flying under VFR conditions. Visibility refers to the distance at which objects can be seen and identified. It plays a crucial role in aviation safety, as it affects a pilot's ability to visually navigate, avoid other aircraft, and maintain situational awareness. By increasing the minimum visibility to 5 sm in Class E airspace at or above 10,000 feet MSL, regulators aim to enhance safety by providing a larger buffer zone for pilots to spot potential hazards and maintain separation from other aircraft. It is worth noting that the visibility requirements can vary depending on the airspace class, weather conditions, and other factors. Pilots must always stay informed about the applicable regulations and check weather reports before a flight to ensure compliance with visibility requirements and maintain safe operations. 6929. With certain exceptions, Class E airspace extends upward from either 700 feet or 1,200 feet AGL2, but does not include A. 10,000 feet MSL, B. 14,500 feet MSL, C. 18,000 feet MSL. The correct answer is C. Class E airspace is a controlled airspace classification that exists in various areas, including around airports, along airways, and in certain designated airspace. It is important to understand the vertical boundaries of Class E airspace to ensure compliance with regulations and maintain safe operations. In most cases, Class E airspace extends upward from either 700 feet or 1,200 feet above ground level, AGL. This means that once an aircraft reaches or exceeds 700 feet or 1,200 feet AGL, depending on the specific area and airspace configuration, it enters Class E airspace. However, it is essential to note that Class E airspace does not include the airspace up to 18,000 feet mean sea level, MSL, except for certain exceptions. This means that once an aircraft reaches 18,000 feet MSL, it transitions into another airspace classification, typically Class A airspace, which is considered the controlled airspace for high-altitude operations. The transition from Class E airspace to Class A airspace at 18,000 feet MSL is significant because Class A airspace is subject to different regulations and requires Instrument Flight Rules, IFR, clearance for aircraft operations. It is important for pilots to be aware of the vertical boundaries of Class E airspace and understand the exceptions and specific airspace designations in their operating areas. This knowledge helps pilots maintain proper communication with air traffic control, adhere to airspace regulations, and ensure safe and efficient operations during their flights.